Well, hello everybody. Recently, I conducted an experiment in an effort to grow more plants from seeds. We had one or two non-starters and failures recently, back in February, March time. Now, Dan tried stratifying some bee bombs as per the packet instructions, and I thought I would give it a go with some seeds, and Dan encouraged me to. Now, Krista at Almost Off-Grid Grandma has also tried this method. So I set to work, but because it's an experiment, I decided to compare it with a germination method as shown by at Lovely Greens. So what I did with the germination method was I put some seeds on damp paper towel, place them in a baggie, and then in a bright place on a windowsill to see if any roots started to form. So I have conducted the experiment now, and I also compared those two methods with a control group, being seeds planted in the usual way. So this video shows what happened, and it certainly produced some interesting results. So here we go. The first thing I'm going to do is to stratify some lettuce seeds, and I might stratify some tomato seeds as well. This is a bit of an experiment. I have a piece of kitchen towel here which I'm very carefully unravelling. I'm going to double fold it actually and put it in this tub. It's easier to do it before the seeds go on. I've squeezed out the water so it's damp rather than wet. I'm going to fold it over in half, like so. And I'm going to fold the end over, and that fits nicely. I have some organic lettuce seeds. These are called Ice Cream. These are well in date, but the first batch dampened off. Our conservatory is nice and sunny, but unfortunately our atmosphere is quite humid, so they dampened off. This method might work a little better. I'm just sprinkling some lettuce seeds on this damp paper towel. That should be enough. And I will put the lid on the container. These will sit in the fridge for 2 or 3 days in this process known as stratification, and actually chilling the seeds before planting them can actually shock them into a form of activation, so they propagate well and flourish. I will also conduct the same experiment with a method that Lovely Greens shared in a video recently. So some of these will go on a dampened paper towel, in a baggie, in the windowsill for 2 or 3 days, or until they start to form a little root system. And then at that stage I can then plant them into pots. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's what they look like. There's the lid. Snap it on. We did this with some wildflower seed bombs it was actually recommended in the instructions to do that. And they seem to have taken quite well. We just planted them directly outside and they're starting to do something. As you can see, I've also put a label on the container to help me remember what's actually in the container. Now I'm going to try and start to propagate some seeds the way Lovely Greens showed, or very similar anyway. So again, I've got a piece of paper towel. I'm going to fold this again in half so it's a little bit firmer because it needs to go inside a baggie. So I'll sprinkle some of these on, not too many. I'll move them more to the middle. And the idea is that they will start to form a root in a few days, and then we can very gently transplant those with tweezers into individual pots. So there we go. Again, the towel is damp, not wet. I'm writing Ice Queen on the front. It's been a funny old year. Some of our seeds have done really well, but others far from it. We've lost a lot. I'm going to be spending an hour or so in the garden this morning, potting up and sowing. There we go. I'm going to fold it over on the underside and place that in a sunny windowsill, and we'll see what happens. Here they are. Lastly, I've filled a paper cup with some seed compost. I've just dampened it a little. I'm going to sprinkle some seeds on the surface and then just cover with a tiny little bit more compost, maybe a little perlite, water in, and I'll put a baggie over the top, and hopefully within a week things will start to happen. We've opened one of the top windows in the conservatory, a very narrow one, just slightly ajar to take down the humidity. So there we go. There we go, and that will go in the sunny windowsill. A couple of days have now passed since I put some seeds in the fridge for stratification, and today's the day when I'm going to put them in the pots with the seed compost. So let's get started. I have filled a seed tray with some seed compost and patted it down firmly. I'm in the greenhouse. Dan's finally tidied the greenhouse up and it is usable. I think it needs a bit of a clean down, the glass, or the perspex rather, but it'll be okay until I can get round to it one day this week. So here are the lettuce seeds which have been sitting in the refrigerator for a little under 48 hours. I'm going to put 2 or 3 in a cell, or however many I can put in. They will be thinned out, of course, once they've grown, hopefully by stratifying them in the fridge they will germinate a little better than the last batch I did. Sometimes organic seeds can be a little unpredictable, it must be said. They probably won't all germinate, so it doesn't really matter if you put a few in each cell. They're very tiny, so they're not easy to pick up. The tissue is still nicely damp. And I'm going to carry on like this, and I'll see you back when I've finished. Now I'm just going to crumble a little bit of soil over the top. This is still the seed compost, just very lightly. Some of the seeds that germinated and I potted on, I have now transferred to the greenhouse to harden off. This will stop them going into shock when they get planted outside in the next few weeks. It's still fairly warm in this greenhouse, even though there is no heating in this greenhouse. It is quite a nice ambient room temperature. There we go. And now for some perlite. Just a little bit, it helps with drainage. I'm also going to put some humane pest pellets on top. These are suitable for organic gardening. This is because we somehow still get slugs and snails in this greenhouse, even though all the doors and windows and everything else are shut. I'm not going to finish off with those pellets yet or water in, because I've still got 3 gaps there, and I'm gonna now have a look at putting the sweet bell peppers in those 3 seed modules, and then I'll do the same thing and we can water them in. I need to find something for this to stand on as well. I think a bit of plastic will be okay, probably an old freezer bag or something of that nature. That will do. There we go, that's all the nightshades together, so I'll water them in. You see, I've cut down this old food bag, which I had washed thoroughly. It's past its best for using for food. It's got that slightly opaque colour now because it's been used quite a few times. In an ideal world, I would probably need to buy some new trays to sit the modules in. However, this is about using what we already have. And remember, gardening doesn't need to be about spending loads of money. You can still produce really good stuff on a minimal budget. So here we are, and I'm now going to add some of these insect and animal friendly repellent pellets, which are suitable for organic gardening. It just might help to keep those slugs and snails away. I'll put a few on the bag as well. There we go. There's a few on the table too. Every little helps. The seeds I am germinating on the windowsills, courtesy of the method by at Lovely Greens. Haven't yet formed any root system, but when they do, we'll see how that works out. Well, it's 13 days since I tried germinating these seeds in the way that at Lovely Greens showed. The others haven't done anything still yet. However, the courgettes lot have all produced roots. We've got 5 seeds. That one hasn't done much, but I'm going to plant it anyway. So what I'm going to do is make a hole, and then you want to grab the seed very carefully with tweezers, and you want to put that white bit of the root down in the soil, and we do that with all of them. The one that hasn't done anything yet, I may put that back for a while. I think it'll probably germinate soon. If it doesn't, it's okay. We've got several here. Courgette plants grow very large. We can probably give one to our neighbour down the road. She gave us one of hers the other year. Last year she didn't manage to do anything with courgettes at all because of the weather. Nothing worked. Again, very carefully. Of course, this is more difficult when you've got smaller seeds, but I deliberately used larger ones. And then this is the last one that I'm going to use for something else. And here we go, the root gets pushed down. I'll just cover that over with a bit of soil. I'll use a bit of this. And then we can water those in. And these will be going in the greenhouse. And there we go, that really is simple. And we'll put something over the top of them and leave them to carry on germinating. So here are the seeds that I've just done. There seem to be a few flies and aphids around. I have to do something about that. We've got these organic barrier pellets. Put some of these on. This stops the slugs from getting to them. They're completely organic. It just acts as a barrier. And then I'll cover them over with some plastic or something. I'll find a plastic bag to cover those over with and just slip it over the end of the trough here. And then in here were the seeds that I stratified. Well, these are going a bit mouldy. Those are.
They might benefit from being uncovered now.
I think they will. These ones are doing all right. But yeah, we're going to dispense just to dry them out. I think the mould will go.
The mould will go because I've opened the window.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. They should be all right. These are uncovered now. It gets very damp in here. The trays are quite damp as well, but we haven't really watered them much. It's just the conditions in here. But I think something will happen and the mould will go.
The slug pellet's also very good at retaining moisture, so you don't need to water as often. It's a bit like putting a cover over them.
These will be okay. These are my cauliflowers. They'll be all right. The mould will go. So that's quite successful. Those stratified seeds have done well. The others not so. No bell pepper, no money maker. We'll see. Well, the other germination method, putting them in a baggie in a nice warm bright space, didn't work very well. The courgettes are doing well. I'll show you those in a minute, but alas, the beans and the peppers and the lettuce seeds have done nothing. So the only ones I have to plant now are the pepper seeds. They failed to germinate. whatsoever. So I just planted them. We'll see what happens. The stratification method that Dan showed me has worked a treat. These are some of the Ice Queen seeds in one end, and then in the other end we have the rocket, or what in America called arugula. I just did those this morning. The state of play is that after 3 weeks the germination method failed to germinate, apart from the courgettes. But the stratification method, I put the seeds in the fridge for 48 hours and then planted them, and look, we have 1 or 2 mixed chilies, a couple of just damped off. That's going to happen. We get very humid, damp weather here in Thanet. Look, the peas are great. The peas are fantastic here. The chilies are doing something. There's a little red chilli on its own. These are some plants that Dan repotted, which his customer gave him. They're starting to discolour a bit. I've just given them some tomato feed. And then we've got a money maker just poking through there. That's coming through. The mouldy ones, they're doing better, as you can see. They're coming to life. The cauliflowers are now doing really well. We've got some bell pepper here coming through. The money maker tomatoes are not doing anything yet. They may or may not work. We'll see. So under here you can see that's one of the courgettes. That's doing really well. That was by the germination method. So I think probably it will work for some seeds well and not for others. Maybe it doesn't work so much for the tiny seeds, but it's worth a try. I think with all these things you need to play around, and everybody's temperatures and humidity levels are different. What works in one climate doesn't necessarily work in another. We each find our own way of making things work in whichever way is best for our climate and also our patience maybe and lifestyle. We learn as we go along. We don't know it all, none of us do. It's all about sharing ideas and tips, and just roll with it and see how it comes out. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like, comment, share, subscribe, ding the all notification bell, ding ding. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for the next one. Until then, bye for now.